You hear financial advisors say all the time, you've got to rebalance. Well, why? Why is that important? I'm going to tell you why, that and more coming up. My name's Mike Bernard. I'm the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Korhorn Financial Group. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. I'm going to tell you right now, your action item from this video, you got to do a rebalance right now of your portfolio, whether that's your 401k, your IRA, Roth IRA, I don't care. You've got to do a rebalance of all of it, okay? And so normally I give you the reasons and then or the application comes later. I'm going to tell you the application right now. Do a rebalance. Now is a great time because even though everyone said this was going to be a tough first half of the year in the stock market, second half maybe things will start recovering. It's been the exact opposite. Well, we don't know what's happened in the second half, but the first half has been fantastic. But once again, U.S. large capital stocks have outpaced everyone else. Now's a great time to rebalance. I prefer and recommend that you do it automatically. There's a couple ways to do that. Automatically via time. So in midpoint of the year and at the beginning of the year, that's typically what we recommend. But the other way could be automatic as soon as once one area gets to be like this size too much, okay? So 2 percentage points above where it's supposed to be or whatever, then automatically rebalance. Either one works. Mathematically, that second approach has mathematically turned out a little bit better, but either one works. You're gonna wanna set it up automatically. So have you rebalanced recently? If not, you need to right now and make sure you do so automatically. So that's the takeaway, but then it begs the question, why? Why do geeks like me tell you just all the time, well, make sure you're rebalancing, make sure you're rebalancing? Well, there's 3 significant benefits that rebalancing provides. The first benefit is the obvious one. So when people talk about all the time, you've heard that the only way that you can make money in investments is to buy low and sell high. And the great news is that doesn't mean, well, you've got to be a market timer. In order to invest successfully, you've got to be able to time the markets, or you've got to be able to buy right after a recession and sell right before a recession. No, that's not what it means. Thankfully, the stock market is the cumulative value of the best enterprises on the planet, the ones that have been able to navigate, provide a valuable service to a growing number of companies or customers, and continue to grow that service offering and become world class. And so that's the aggregate. The stock market is the aggregate value of those enterprises. And therefore, over time, yes, does it go up every day? No. Does it go up every week? No. Month? No. But the longer you wait, the greater the odds are that cumulative value of all those companies, the world's best companies, is going to be higher out there in the future. Therefore, no matter when you buy, hopefully, you hold it long enough, and at some point you'll be able to sell at a higher level. So buy low, sell high. That's the only way to make money in investments. Well, rebalancing actually harnesses that, but I would say it does the inverse of it, not the opposite. The opposite would be, buy high, sell low. No, it doesn't do that. But rebalancing allows you to sell high and buy low. Why would I make that distinction? Because when you are investing for your long-term, whether this is your 401k or your Roth IRA, whatever, hopefully you're investing based off a strategy. And that strategy should be, while it's got maybe your own unique flavor to it, it should be on the chassis of diversification. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. And it should be following some sort of recipe that's tried and true over a long period of time based on how this mix of baskets or asset classes fit together. You should have X percentage for your risk tolerance and your goals. You should have X percentage in this area, X percentage in this area, X percentage in this area. And then you just let it run. And say, for example, your large cap stocks, large US stocks. Your recipe said you should have 30% of your portfolio in large cap stocks. Well, imagine if everything else is just treading water, but your large cap stocks are just knocking the cover off the ball. And instead of being 30% over time, they're now worth 35%. And you might say, well, great, I had that, I received that much appreciation. Because that area did so well and the other baskets didn't, now you have more of that area than you originally intended to based on that recipe. And you might say, oh, great. Well, not so great if all of those baskets are cyclical and now you hold too much of one area just in time for it to go from being undervalued to overvalued to dropping back down. And so the process of rebalancing says, no, my original recipe was to have that at 30%. It's now at 35%. So I need to sell high, potentially, trim off that 5% of excess growth there, and reinvest those dollars into areas that haven't performed as well, i.e. buying low. So selling high, buying low. So that's the primary benefit. This is primary benefit, and it really can't be overstated. The second benefit of rebalancing is it then prevents you, it helps avoid the risk of you quietly taking on more risk than you really should for your financial plan or for your appetite. Let me tell you a story. Some folks that I've known is a long time ago. We helped do financial planning for them just a little bit. Their life was in some transition, but they continued to manage their own investments. It was a large sort of trust fund from generations before. Okay, and so they didn't have a great overall investment strategy, but because it was family money and they'd been managing it, they said, okay, well, we're going to continue to manage it just fine. Well, through the planning process, while we weren't giving strategy and those recommendations, from a risk tolerance standpoint, it was, well, the appropriate risk tolerance for them was 65% stocks and 35% bonds. And so they said, yeah, we agreed. Like through the planning process, we came to that conclusion. So it's like, okay, if you guys are managing your own investments, and make sure that your strategies all align with that. And they did, and they shifted into that. Well, this was a long time ago, after 08, 09. And so what happened? Well, U.S. large capital stocks did fantastic for a long stretch of time. International stocks did not. Bonds did not. And so that 65-35 portfolio continued to grow and sort of become out of balance and out of weighting. And the stock portion became much larger than the bond portion, much larger than the 65%. And it became distorted where a lot of it was growing in large cap. What made matters worse is because this was a trust account, anytime they would try to rebalance, or anytime I would bring up the idea of rebalancing, they said, well, there's going to be some tax consequences with that. We don't really feel comfortable doing that. Well, guys, soon that 65-35 portfolio was over 75% stocks. So as they were getting older and presumably closer to needing to use this money and should be dialing down their risk was actually doing the opposite. It was going up. The percentage that they had in stocks was actually increasing, and the percentage that they had in U.S. stocks, specifically U.S. large, was increasing as well. And you might say, well, that's good. That's the area that's doing well, and they should have more in stocks because that's what's been performing the best. I get that, but it is all cyclical. And so now they find themselves well beyond that original age, taking more risk and being more concentrated, that when COVID happened or when 2022 happened and the U.S. stock market or the stocks dropped, they're overexposed, right? So the second benefit of rebalancing, even though it sounds so boring, is it helps prevent or eliminate or avoid the risk of you quietly taking on more risk than you really should or than you're really comfortable with. And just to sort of make the point with that, if your risk tolerance or what's appropriate for your financial plan is 65% stocks, and you soon become 80% stocks, and then that inevitable recession or downturn bear market happens, you might say, I've lost so much money, I need to completely change my investment strategy forever. And you might say, no one would ever do that. All the time. If that 80% now stock portion drops 25 or 30%, what are the chances, because that's now more risk than you are comfortable taking, you experience that drop? Because you're not going to experience the rise and say, I'm not comfortable with this. No, I'm not. No, you'll continue. You'll say, oh, this is great. It's then when that bear market hits, that's when you would say, if you were taking more risk than you really should, that's when you'd say, I can't continue doing this. I need to make a change. And then all of a sudden, you permanently shift your investment strategies forever and take much lower risk than you really should after capturing in a whole bunch of losses. And then the third benefit of rebalancing is it helps you manage one of the biggest detriments to long-term investor success. And I'm not talking about market volatility. I'm talking about your own emotions. See, to me, one of the challenges with investing in your 401k, for example, is, and I know it's gotten a little bit different since we rarely get 401k statements, but I used to see a lot of people take the 401k investment strategy of, okay, every quarter when I get my statement, I look at the front page, I see if if my balance went up or down, did I make money or lose money? And if I didn't like the result, then I would flip the page. And it wasn't the second page, it was normally the third page where it would list all of the investment choices available within the 401k. And it would list columns and a bunch of percentages. And I'd look at that first column, which is normally the past 3 months, or maybe the second column, which is the past year. And I'd look to see which ones performed the best. And I would conclude those were the good investments, and the ones that performed the worst, those were the bad investments. And I would change, and this is not I personally, just hypothetically, would change and put all of my money in those areas that were the good investments and get out of the ones that were bad. Well, guys, that's not how diversification works. Does diversification work? Yes. Will you like it? No, because diversification means you're going to have some winners and some losers at all times, but they're cyclical. They're cyclical. Therefore, that's just by design. And therefore, if you have your emotions are too strong and you constantly shift your investments, well, U.S. stocks, once again, they're outperforming international. I need to get rid of my international stocks. Or large U.S. is outperforming small cap. I need to get rid of my small caps. You might have too much emotion injected into your long-term investment strategy and be following the crowd is what that investment strategy I used to be. You might be, there might be too much following the crowd, and inevitably that it's just not a sustainable long-term investment strategy. So lots of benefits to rebalancing. That's your action item. And I would, if you haven't rebalanced yet, then I would do so and set it up automatic so it's taken care of automatically for you. You don't need to manually do anything. So work with your CFP, make sure you've got the right investment strategy, make sure you've got an automatic rebalance system set up and that is working and functioning for you. Work with your CFP on that. If you don't have a CFP on your team, contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with K, wisemoneyshow.com. You can find us there as well, or send us an email, info@korhorn.com. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.